So there's a revolution happening right now, like as we speak, at the intersection of AI and mental health. And let me tell you, the rules are being written in real time. The stakes could not be higher. And it all kicks off with one number. And trust me, it's a number you're not going to forget.
1 million. A million people, every single week. That's how many folks OpenAI themselves say are talking about suicide with ChatGPT. This isn't some tiny niche problem. We're talking about a massive, completely unintended social experiment happening in real time all over the world.
And, M13 partner Morgan Blumberg just hits the nail on the head here. This isn't some weird edge case or a little bug in the system. No, it's a full-blown public health crisis, and it's happening on a platform that, let's be real, was never, ever designed to be a therapist. So, what do we do? How is the world actually responding to this?
Okay, so this whole thing is playing out across 4 different battlegrounds all at the same time. You've got the market, right, where the money is talking. You've got the science labs, where they're trying to find actual proof. Then there's the courtroom, where people are demanding accountability. And finally, there's the battle inside our own heads, where what we think about AI becomes reality. Let's dive into each one.
All right, first up, the market. Look, if you want to know where things are really headed, you just have to follow the money. And right now, the smart money, the venture capital, is placing a huge, very specific bet on what a safe AI for mental health actually looks like.
And that bet? It's a big one. $17 million. That's the seed round for a company called Gemini Health. And their whole philosophy, the entire company, is built on one core idea. A real, licensed human therapist has to be in charge, always.
So you're probably wondering, how does that actually work? Well, Gemini's model is, honestly, it's pretty simple and smart. A human clinician sets up the care plan. The AI then helps the patient out between their sessions. But, and this is the absolute key, the human therapist can see everything. They have 100% visibility into all the conversations. The AI isn't just going rogue and making stuff up.
This investment sends a massive signal to everybody in this space. If you're a builder, a developer, this is the kind of setup that gets funding and gets past regulators. If you're an investor, the real opportunity isn't in some standalone consumer chatbot, it's in building the clinical tools. And for clinicians, this is huge. The message is, hey, this technology is here to help you to extend your reach. It's not here to replace you.
Okay, so that's the money. Now let's head over to the lab. In medicine, right, the absolute gold standard for proving something works is the randomized controlled trial, the RCT. Well, for generative AI therapy, that moment is finally here. It's a game changer.
So this study gets published in NEJM AI, which is a huge deal. And it's the first ever RCT for generative AI chatbot. This one's called Therabot. And the results? A 51% reduction in depression symptoms. I mean, wow. That is a seriously meaningful clinical result. It completely shifts the conversation from, hey, can this AI stuff even work? To, okay, how well does it work?
And it didn't stop there. The study also showed a 31% drop in anxiety and nearly a 20% reduction in the risk factors for eating disorders. This right here is what real, peer-reviewed scientific evidence looks like. It sets a whole new bar for everyone else in this field.
But here's the kicker. This is the part that made everyone's jaw drop. Patients actually said their bond, their therapeutic alliance, with the AI chatbot was just as strong as what you'd find with a human therapist in outpatient care. Just let that sink in for a second. It totally blows up the old idea that an AI can't create a real connection. That bond, it might be way more powerful than any of us expected.
Okay, that brings us to our third front, the courtroom. With any powerful new tech, the law always plays catch-up. And usually, the new rules get written, well, they get written in the aftermath of things going horribly wrong. This is where we're finding out the real cost of failure. And a really big deal just happened. A court in California has taken a dozen, maybe more, different lawsuits against OpenAI related to mental health and bundled them all into one single case. So this isn't just a few people suing anymore. No, this is now a coordinated, very high-stakes legal battle. And the accusations? They're incredibly serious. We're talking wrongful death, claims that OpenAI knew they were releasing a dangerously sycophantic AI, that's an AI that'll just agree with you even on dangerous ideas, and that they rushed it out the door without proper safety testing. And OpenAI's response to all this? They rolled out a new trusted contact feature and offered up $2 million in research grants. You can kind of see the disconnect, right? The two sides feel like they're on different planets. Which brings us to the final front. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all, the human mind itself. Because look, even if you build an AI that works in the lab and holds up in court, it still has to get past this one huge psychological barrier. It really all boils down to perception.
So here's the big question, right? If a human and an AI say the exact same thing to you, I mean word for word, identical, do you hear it differently? Do you feel it differently? Well, a big study from a bunch of universities decided to find out.
And the results were pretty wild. When people were told they were talking to an AI, they felt the exact same words were more judgmental, like the AI didn't really get them. And what happens when you feel judged? You clam up. You share less. It's proof that who is saying something matters just as much, maybe even more, than what is being said.
So, where does that leave us? Let's recap. The market is betting on human oversight. The science shows this can actually work. The courts are demanding that someone be held accountable. And our own psychology shows there's a big trust gap with AI. When you line all that up, all four of these fronts are pointing in the exact same direction. They're all pointing to one solution.
And that solution is what we call the therapist in the loop. It's a pretty simple concept, really. It just means a licensed human therapist is always in control. They have 100% visibility. The AI is a tool, a really powerful one, that helps execute a plan. The AI is not the therapist.
And hey, this isn't just some idea on a whiteboard. There are companies out there, like AI, building this right now. It's basically an AI-first electronic health record system that's designed for safety from day one. We're talking total visibility for the clinician. It's passed almost 2 million safety tests. It's even got pre-FDA validation. This is the real deal.
And I think Jessop just sums it all up perfectly. The client talks to Casey talks to the therapist stays in the loop. See, it's so simple, but it's an architecture that really solves for all the problems we've just talked about, from the market to the lab to the courtroom.
So, as we look ahead, the big question really isn't if AI can help in mental health anymore. I think the science is pretty clear that it can. The real question, the one we all have to answer, is how do we build these systems so that a real, compassionate human being is always, always at the very heart of the care?